Hey, Wild Souls, this is Elle,
And Carrie.
your host of Seasonal Reflections. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or a curious soul taking your first steps on this path, Seasonal Reflections is your compass to navigate the ever turning wheel of life.
And if you're ready to explore the intersection of science and spirituality, then we invite you to listen to our podcast and become part of our community. We're creating a space where myths come to life and your connection with nature deepens.
We're starting off with Yule, the longest night of the year. Preparations for the coming winter are done. It's a dreaming phase, it's a resting time, it's a time for introspection. It's a time for the rebirth of the sun. We're welcoming back the sun. Since Samhain, every day has gotten a little bit shorter and every night has gotten a little bit longer. And right now we are at the precipice. The night is pregnant with possibilities. I love it. So we're setting intentions and celebrating the light. I feel like Yule is a very old holiday. How did it become what it is today?
So, even though Yule is one of the oldest Sabbats, it wasn't until the Norse invaded and introduced Yule did the Celts celebrate it. It is important to note that Nordic influenced Celts celebrated with many traditions that are now known as the modern day Christmas. This includes decorating evergreen trees, making wreaths, feasting, dancing, and hanging mistletoe.
Now, mistletoe is a really interesting tradition. I wonder where that came from.
The ancient Druids harvested mistletoe at Yule with great ceremony, believing it to be a holy plant with protective qualities. It is one of the few plants that flower during the winter months and during Saturnalia, which is a fertility ritual that took place under bowers of mistletoe. Perhaps the reason for our modern day traditions of kissing underneath it. So it gives a whole new meaning to kissing underneath the mistletoe.
Right? And I like that it was their Saturnalia festival because Saturn traditionally rules Capricorn, which is the sign that the sun is moving into the solstice. That is what the solstice is. It's the sun moving into Capricorn on the cross quarter holidays, right? So we have that cardinal energy of movement. Cardinal in the modes of astrology, cardinal is the movement of energy.
Mhm.
And with that movement is the moving of the sun back and the light returning.
Yeah. Did you know that Yule actually tried to take over Samhain for the new year?
So that's interesting that you mentioned that because a
Mhm.
lot of witches, myself included, look at Samhain as the witches' new year, which makes sense to me because I feel like it is the marker of the beginning of the end of the year.
Mhm. Now, I can see how some considered it kind of being the new year, especially for most of us, the traditional new year is on the first of the year, right? When you're starting over. And back in the day, or some people now might still consider the solstice to be the new year because gods and goddesses have officially completed the cycle and it begins again. It's also, like we said before, where there's that beginning of transition of light returning.
But without the light returning, something has to die.
Hmm.
So are we celebrating the death and the beginning of the end, or we're going to start at the beginning of the rebirth? So it just I think it's personal preference.
Yeah. I definitely
Um,
resonate with Samhain marking the beginning of the new year for me. And it's one of my favorite holidays. It's a lot of reflection on the past and of the ancestors, and it's like beginning new and setting intentions for me. So that is what I personally resonate with.
yeah, and I like that Samhain is kind of like asking us to let go of things. And once we have let go of the things that no longer serve us and are like dead weight, so to speak, then we are open and cleared up some space for setting intentions and going forward into the new year with new clarity and intentions for what we want to create, what we want to build. And that's very Capricorn, right? Like, what am I
Mhm.
building? What's my legacy? What are my goals? Um, so with that being said, if you want to ride that energetic wave of the sun moving into Capricorn, and how to ride that energetic wave with the sun and also the moons. This winter solstice this year is going to be on Friday, December 22nd. The sun moving into steady Capricorn. It is a good time for reflection and taking all of those higher philosophical Sagittarius ideas that we might have been having in the last month or so and give them practical application. How are we going to put these ideas into action? The 22nd, the moon is moving into Aries, and that'll help just get energy moving for the holiday season. And then the moon moves into Taurus on the 23rd, which is a really good time to spend with friends, spend time doing all of those Taurian kind of creature comfort, eating, resting, being merry, and really spending time with people.
I really resonate with that one. I wonder why.
You would. Get your cozy blanket and make sure everyone's comfortable. If you're doing something with friends or family around the 23rd, you really want to make sure that yourself and everyone around you are comfortable. That's going to be more important, and everyone's fed because we don't want to deal with hangry people.
Mm-mm.
And then on Christmas, the moon moves into Gemini. And that's a great time for the moon to be in Gemini because we're all just having fun, embrace your inner child, be merry, mercurial. It's just a really good light moon. I do want to mention in all of this that in the background, Mercury is in retrograde in Sagittarius. So if you're wondering if you should stay home or travel, stay home. If you're wondering, should I go visit my problematic, toxic family? No, the answer is no.
Twist my arm.
It's not a time to start philosophical debates with closed minded family members. These will not go well. They never go well, but because Mercury is the planet of communication, there's a high probability that you're going to say the wrong thing and put your foot in your mouth, and it's just not going to go well. Sometimes you can kind of get away with that, especially with the Sagittarius influence, but with it being in retrograde, it's a hard no. I would avoid bringing up touchy topics, especially with family, because we have the full moon in Cancer on the 26th. So if you have like a family that's in town and you'd rather spend time with them, do that. That's that's where you want to go. And if you are traveling, here's a little bit of advice. Embrace the journey. Look at the detours because there will be detours as side quests. If you can make a friend or find something interesting about a new person or experience a new food, just really if you're out traveling and expect delays, and if those delays happen, just lean into it and it'll go good for you. And then something magical will happen because Sagittarius is involved and you might end up on a flight that you didn't expect, or something will happen if you lean into it. But if you try to fight it, what you resist persists. And it's just going to you're just going to bang your head against a wall. So there's no point in that. And then on the 26th at 7:33 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon is going to be full in Cancer. So everyone's going to be ready to be home. Like you're going to want to be home. So if you are traveling, be sure to like just cut it short or try to. You might have an unexpected adventure, or remember home is where you are and really try to embrace that comfort. Carrie, do you have anything to say about the Cancer full moon?
So I looked online, and you can tell me this because you are more experienced in astrology than I am. I am still a newbie out there, but I also read that it's you want to stay home, but there's this feeling of being vulnerable or sensitive. So you want to stay home so you can keep your guard up. But it's also a time for like a desire for intimacy. Is that true? Because I have a note for the single people out there.
That is true.
So this is a PSA for everyone, including myself. It's prime cuffing season. It's the cold moon for a reason. It is cold out there. You are going to want to snuggle up to someone. You're going to want to feel that warmth, but do not respond back to your ex who periodically checks in on you to keep you interested because you are an option, not a choice. Remember that. Do not drink and dial. No matter how good the drinks are at the party, have someone take your phone away.
Can I text and dial?
No.
Can I drink and text?
No. None of it. Actually, you know what? If you don't drink at all, you are lucky, okay? Because I created this drink called hot buttery cocoa nipples, and it's basically buttery nipple shots and hot cocoa, and it is dangerously good, and I'm in trouble for the winter season, just to tell you, to forewarn you about that. But in general, refrain from cuffing any person that you don't truly see in the moment because you are, quote, drunk, unquote, on the moon. And come spring, you have your rose colored glasses off. And just before you're about to end it, they do, or worse, they stay. Okay? That's it. That's done. I'm done. Do you have anything else to add?
I mean, I think you covered it.
I
That's
think
a
we
very
got
good
it.
PSA.
So let's focus our attention on literary reflections, the portion of the podcast where we talk about myths or stories that tie into the current Sabbat we are talking about. Yule and the solstice have many gods and goddesses from various regions and cultures from all over the world. But for the sake of keeping this brief, we'll focus on one story for this episode. Don't worry, I do plan to introduce some of those in future podcasts, so stay tuned. Let's take a moment and we're going to journey into Celtic folklore to unravel the timeless saga of the Battle of the Oak and Holly King. For some of you, this may be a very familiar story, and that is why I'd like to share it for any newbies out there. Well, the story has its roots in Celtic mythology, which includes areas of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall, Brittany, and the Isle of Man. Its themes and symbolism have reached a broader audience beyond the Celtic regions, especially among those who are drawn to nature based spirituality, like myself, and the celebration of seasonal changes, like other modern neo pagans, Wiccans, New Age, and ecologists. Our story begins with the ancient Celts, who saw the world through a mystical lens where nature's cycles were intrinsically tied to the changing of the seasons. In their vivid imagination, the year was divided into two halves, each ruled by a mighty and symbolic king. Meet the Oak King and the Holly King, the yin and yang of the Celtic world. The Oak King represents the light half of the year, from the spring equinox to the autumn equinox. He's the guy you want at your barbecue, bringing sunshine and growth to the land. He's all about new beginnings and vitality, just like the fresh cup of tea or coffee on a Monday morning. But here's the twist. As the seasons turn and the days grow shorter, the Holly King awakens. He's the king of the dark half of the year, reigning from the autumn equinox to the spring equinox. This fellow's more of a night owl, I can relate, ruling over the shadows and the chill of winter. Now, what makes this story truly epic is the battle that these two kings engage in. They wage an annual cosmic clash for dominance. It all happens during the solstices. During the summer solstice, the Oak King is at his peak, and he battles the Holly King, who begins to take power. Insert battle drum music. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know. I don't know what else to put there,
Good here.
right? Basically, it's an epic showdown, like an annual WrestleMania event, but with more greenery and less body slamming. Right? The Oak King represents the waning power of the sun as the days start to get shorter, while the Holly King symbolizes the waxing darkness and the inevitable onset of winter. And just like the best WWE matches, sorry to say, the outcome is predetermined. Spoiler alert. The Holly King triumphs during the winter solstice and taking control of the season. But don't worry, the story doesn't end in despair. As the wheel of the year turns, the Oak King makes his comeback and the cycle starts anew. So, what is the message of this epic battle for us in modern day times? Well, it's about embracing change and seasonal awareness. The cyclical battle between the Oak and King and the Holly King represent the changing of seasons. It encourages us to acknowledge and accept the inevitability of change in our lives and in the natural world. It reminds us that growth and decline are integral parts of the cycle. For those who follow seasonal celebrations or nature based spirituality, the story serves as a reminder to be in tune with the seasons and celebrate the unique qualities and energies of each year.
I also like to think of it representing balance and harmony. The story symbolizes the delicate balance and harmony between light and darkness, life and death, the growth and decay. And it encourages us to seek equilibrium in our own lives and to appreciate the interconnectedness of these dualities. The oak and the holly kings can be seen as symbolic representation of different aspects of our own lives and personal growth. The story encourages us to reflect on which king might be dominant in our lives at various times and how we can find balance.
It also brings to mind resilience and renewal. As the Oak King returns after being defeated by the Holly King, the story illustrates the idea of resilience and renewal. It urges us to persevere through challenges and difficult times, knowing that new beginnings and opportunities will come.
I think it also taps into our connection to nature. The story highlights the deep connection between humanity and the natural world and our natural cycles in general. It encourages us to honor and respect the seasons and our environment and the earth cycles, and knowing that there's like a time and place for certain things. And when we're connected and tapped into that, it promotes a sense of responsibility and stewardship for our planet.
In essence, the story of the Battle of the Oak and Holly King asks us to be mindful of the natural world, embrace change, seek balance, and find meaning in the cycles of life. It encourages us to view the world and our own experiences through a lens of interconnectedness and deep understanding.
So, Carrie, how can we do that? What are some practices that we can do to tap into that?
Well, if you resonate with creating altars, some colors you might want to think of that represent Yule are red, green, silver, white, and orange. But I'll leave it to you to tell us about the plant potions.
Well, there are a lot of plants considered Yule plants. Mistletoe, like we discussed, was considered powerful and magical and used for healing and in ceremonies of the fertilization nature. Um,
Bow,
fertilization.
chicka, bow, wow. I'm gonna put mistletoe everywhere now.
So chamomile is used for protection and purification, eases depression and anxiety. Chamomile is also really good for your tummy. So if you're feeling anxious and you need to sleep and your stomach is feels like it's full of rocks, have some chamomile tea. Traditionally, rosemary is used for protection and it's good for cleansing your home. Oak and holly, as Carrie discussed, they are evergreens, and that has symbolism in cultures all over the world because they never die. So they give life throughout the winter season when a lot of things are dead. Sunflowers dried for the summer can be put up around the house for like a reflection of the sun and the promise of the sun. But there are two that I want to talk about, and one is frankincense. Frankincense is a traditional Yule herb. Well, it's a resin technically, and it's obtained by an incision from the bark of the balsam or the boswellia tree. It is a small tree native to Northeast Africa, traditionally from Oman, Yemen, and Somalia. It's used to heal wounds, relieve arthritis, balance hormones, purify the air. It relieves stress, it improves sleep quality, and enhance cognitive function. You can take it as a supplement or it's used in skin cream. But I think what most people resonate with, and I've been seeing a lot in the last 10 to 15 years, is it being used in aromatherapy. Um, it's famously one of the gifts brought to baby Jesus, which is Christmas time, Yule time. And it's just a good herb to have on hand. You can get frankincense incense and burn it and just help relieve stress and create a sense of calm. Another herb I think is really interesting that resonates with this time of year is the holy thistle. It is in the aster family. It's also known as Saint Benedict's thistle. It's native to the Mediterranean area. Holy thistle is like this big ass plant, right? It's got big leaves. They're pointy, they're spiky, they're a little furry, and it has this big flower head that is either purple or yellow. And it just kind of screams, I will protect you. It is a monster of a plant. The thing is huge. So it was commonly used in the Middle Ages to treat the bubonic plague and as a tonic for monks. It's prepared as a tea, but you want to use it in small doses, less than 6 grams a day. It's considered a galactagogue, which is kind of why I picked it for this particular podcast, because you were talking about how this is like the fertility time,
Mhm.
and galactagogue is basically an herbal medicine. It helps produce mother's milk. So I thought that was an interesting tie in there. But magically, it's used for purification and protection against negativity and evil. You can use it in hex breaking spells. If you think someone has put a hex on you, you can use some
Why are you looking at me?
thistle.
My relationships have nothing to do with this. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's traditionally used for cleansing and ritual bathing, and it's used for peace and protection in the home. I do want to just mention there's some contraindications for this one. If you have intestinal problems like Crohn's disease or other inflammatory conditions of the gut, don't take holy thistle. But if you have loss of appetite or indigestion, colds, coughs, fevers, bacterial infections, which are very common this time of year, you can make some holy thistle tea and it will help you. Shazam. That's all I got.
Perfect. So, additional things that you can add to your altar or your space are gemstones, which I've been collecting since I was a kid. So, some essential stones that you can choose and pick ones that resonate with you. I recommend reading more individually about what they cover and choosing which ones help you with your intentions that you're setting for this particular time of year. But some optional stones are bloodstone, garnet, emerald, diamond, ruby, clear quartz, black tourmaline, and moonstone. And basically, if you have all of these stones, these combined represent protection and inner strength. There's this sun energy, the warmth, because that's coming back, this vitality that's coming, and renewal when you take the time to rest. You're having this clarity of thought. You have this fire and passion and this life force coming back into you. These amplify intentions, but also keep these intentions grounded and keep you grounded while you are going through all of this. That leads me to the grounding or self-care that you can do for yourself during this time, this period where, like you said, Elle, you want to stay home. So I recommend picking an inner light meditation, or if you enjoy yoga, some sun salutation yoga to welcome the sun back into your life this time of year. I'll have a blessing that I will post on our Instagram page if you want to use that and resonate with it. There's also a 12 plant herb satchel that we will have for you to create at home. Some activities, whether you have kids or not, you can make snowflakes or pinwheel yellow discs where you decorate this paper pinwheel disc, you put string through it, and you can kind of twist it, and it shows us this really pretty moving image that is a really good solar symbol. Collecting pine cones and evergreen leaves on a nature walk, and you can use that to make Yule crowns, which you can use those crowns to reenact the Battle of the Oak and Holly King.
We should do that.
Right? And you can also use those items to maybe help create some sort of animal habitat for those animals trying to find a space to stay outside. Or, we talk about, like, for some people who celebrate Christmas or similar traditions where you make gingerbread houses, I think we should make an animal feeding house instead of gingerbread. And we can make it out of objects that animals can eat, and you can leave it outside. So that is my suggestion.
Like a little animal offering.
Yes, animal offering, spirit offering. Who knows? Whoever wants to eat some of that. Because I'm a Taurus and I like food. So we're going to talk about foods. Fruits, nuts, baked goods, cider, spiced cider, eggnog. You can have the eggnog. Ginger tea and wassail are great things to add to your altar or your feast that you have with your family.
What's wassail?
So wassail is like a traditional kind of apple cider. You can add hard liquor to it, apples, brandy, other spices. Think like cinnamon and ginger, nutmeg. I definitely see it with orange in there. Being from New England, I am a huge fan of cranberries. So I often have cranberries, apples, cinnamon, oranges, all those kind of spices thrown together. I've been making that before I even knew what wassail was. So, I highly recommend it. I put mine in the slow cooker, and people just grab whatever they want, and then I can store it in the fridge after. So get yourself some wassail this holiday season.
You should wassail that.
I should wassail that online so people can purchase it. Can you package that for me? So, listeners, how do you celebrate this time of year? If you haven't celebrated it before but you want to, how do you want to do that? Come share your thoughts on our Instagram page, seasonal_reflections. And that brings us to the end of another soul-soothing journey with Seasonal Reflections. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to show us some love. Hit that like button, subscribe to our podcast for more enriching content, and join the Seasonal Reflections community on Instagram at Seasonal Reflections.
Looking to infuse your days with the perfect seasonal sounds? Find our curated playlists on Spotify by searching Seasonal Reflections. From vibrant Beltane melodies to the cozy tunes of Yule, we've got the soundtrack to accompany every moment. Your support means the world to us.
Until next time, fellow nature lovers and cosmic dreamers,
stay rooted, stay curious, and most importantly,
stay wild.